I'll tell you everything. My wealthy sister was full of envy. There's such a good thing. I decided to go to the food stalls every day from today on. But fortunately, it wasn't your breasts that were hit. You are famous for having big breasts and no brains. It's worth it. Goodbye, roommate. I'm going to sail away tonight. Another girl who had a crush on Damon. Why didn't I meet such a good thing? It's worth it. It would be great if I was the one who was hit. The girl sighed again, but fortunately I have changed my feelings for someone else. Damon is too hard to chew. I'm happy. I suddenly remembered that when I was a freshman, I helped the girl to pass a love letter to Damon. As a result, I passed it to the wrong person and ran back to the basketball court to find Damon. He had already left. Fortunately, no one knew about such an embarrassing thing, let alone Damon. I got up from the hospital bed and packed my things to prepare to leave the hospital and go back to school with my roommate. My roommates went outside to wait for me. The door opened and Damon returned. Why are you back again? Damon raised his eyelids to look at me, so I didn't leave. I wanted to be discharged from the hospital. He sat down on the sofa again and opened the thermos box in his hand. It was porridge and side dishes. I nodded. There was an activity in the club tomorrow and I had to go back to prepare. Damon stretched his legs and pushed the porridge in front of me. He started playing with his phone again and asked for leave. This tone and attitude were just like my old father. I was not very willing. I muttered to myself, but Damon actually turned his sitting position, supported his long legs and lay back, put one hand behind his head, and closed his eyelids. Did you ask for leave? The doctor said that you should be hospitalized for observation for 3 days. I can understand hospitalization for observation, but brother, why do you look like you are going to sleep here? I said weakly. Aren't you going back? Damon added a hoarse nasal sound to his voice, which was a little vague. What if something happens to you alone at night? Blame the campus gossip for not being accurate at all. The big brother is clearly an enthusiastic citizen. Hey, I can actually let my roommate accompany me. I struggled a little. It was the first time for a man and a woman to meet. How embarrassing to yell at you for 10 nights. What if you fainted in the middle of the night? Can a girl handle it? He said it well and confidently. I was speechless and agreed with him by default. In the series of my lifetime, the Prince Charming of the school actually stayed with me in the hospital. I was so excited that I couldn't sleep. Of course, I was more nervous and confused, and I had a headache. The pain from the wound was like a needle. In the middle of the night, I bit the back of my hand to prevent myself from feeling pain. Suddenly, a figure enveloped me. I was drowsy and heard Damon's voice. The voice was softer than that during the day. I woke up with joy and took the medicine. He helped me sit up and fed me the medicine. The big brother of Dishui was so considerate. He didn't match the rumored cool pants at all. I asked him hoarsely, "Did I disturb you?" He hung his arms and waited quietly for me to finish drinking water and take the cup away. The light in the ward was dim, and I couldn't see his face clearly. After a while, he added, "I just recognized the bed." A sense of guilt came over me. I looked at him eagerly, maybe my loving eyes made him feel sick. Damon raised his eyes, took the water cup and walked out. I smoked and called the nurse if I had anything to do. When I was almost at the door, his voice sounded far away, but it was extremely clear. "Scream if it hurts, don't bite yourself." The door was pushed open with a creak, and Damon's figure disappeared at the door. I seemed to hear the sound of something shooting at my heart, and my face and ears were faintly burning in the dark. No wonder so many people like Damon, who can resist such a handsome guy who is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. But I know one thing very well, people like Damon are drugs and addictions. Once ordinary people are infected, they will fall into an irreversible situation if they don't get a response. On the 3rd day, I accidentally drank soup while eating soup dumplings. While Damon was out doing business, I couldn't help but go to the bathroom to take a simple shower. This strong smell of chopped green onion dumplings was still smelly. I have already started to want to avoid Damon. Who doesn't want to leave a beautiful impression in front of a handsome guy? But I can't wash my head and can't get it wet. When I was halfway through the shower, I heard Damon knocking on the door, which scared me so much that the soap in my hand slipped out. I cleared my throat and pretended to be calm. I took a shower. After 5 seconds of silence outside, Damon's low voice only said a few words, "Are you looking for death?" I could feel Damon's strong aura and pressure through the door, even though he repeatedly told me not to get wet or touch the wound. Maybe he was so angry because he felt that his words were ignored by me. I picked up the soap and shivered. The soup spilled on me just now, so I took a shower. Damon said, "Hurry up." After washing, I found a fatal thing. I was missing a pair of pants from my change of clothes. I really didn't expect Damon to come back so soon this time. "Can Damon help me get my pants?" Footsteps sounded outside, and soon the door was knocked. I opened the door a little and stretched out my hand to shake it. Damon didn't know what he was doing. After a while, I felt the soft fabric touching my palm. When I grabbed it, I seemed to have rubbed his fingers. It was smooth, delicate, and soft. I quickly shrank back as if I was burned by fire. After taking off the clothes, I was still silent. I guess after being discharged from the hospital this time, Damon may never want to see me again. I have too many things to do. After I finished washing, Damon in the ward leaned against the window and answered the phone. He looked a little lazy, but his tone was indescribably soft, a bit like he was talking to his girlfriend. I seemed to have overlooked one thing. Does Damon have a girlfriend? If he has a girlfriend, it's not good for me to keep bothering others. After he finished the call, I couldn't help asking, "Damon, do you have a girlfriend?" Damon was looking down and swiping his phone with one hand, holding a stick in his mouth. When I got closer, I saw that he was holding a lollipop. The expressionless man holding a lollipop looked a little docile. Damon suddenly looked up at me, squinting his eyes. "You want to chase me?" I almost choked to death in the ward because of his imagination. But it doesn't seem strange, there are so many people who like Damon. I heard from my roommate that he saw Damon in the cafeteria and had a meal with 3 waves of girls confessing their love. I often see wild handsome guys secretly filming Damon on the internet, but I dare not have such an idea even if I am bold. Although we have only been together for 3 days, Damon went back to the dormitory after dinner. I thought of what Damon said during the day, and suddenly remembered that it seemed that there was always someone who wrote love letters to me. The handwriting was ugly, and the name was not left, and the text was not very smooth. I rummaged in the cabinet for a while, but fortunately I didn't throw away those love letters. I finally found a clue on the back of the paper, a fly-sized handwriting message: "HTY who TNU." I really don't know why, this kind of old-fashioned thing copied from a book has no impact on me at all, and I am even a little speechless, and there are typos. I packed these love letters and sent them back to Hutianyu, and only replied to him with 2 words: "Thank you." I thought that this matter was over. 2 days later, Hutianyu was waiting for me downstairs of the dormitory. He took me to a place, but I didn't want to go, so I refused. "Hutianyu, thank you for your love, but I have a boyfriend." Hutianyu suddenly mentioned that he had a girlfriend before October. "Did you know that?" I pretended to be calm, knowing that it was a different era, and it was not strange for a boy like him to have a girlfriend. A girl as ordinary as me had had 2 girlfriends before. In fact, I was still a little nervous. I felt that this kind of thing was often said by other people, like a bomb, which could cause scars at the least and shattered to pieces at the worst. The girl's name was Cytherea. Damon had been with Cytherea for a long time. They were a famous couple in our school before. Both parents agreed and planned to send them abroad to study and come back to get married after they finished their studies. I began to feel bitter in my heart, but I tried to act as if nothing had happened. So, Hutianyu drove his BMW and opened the door. His meaning was very clear. "If you want to continue the story, get in the car first." I looked at the time. Damon should come to pick me up after training to have dinner. But I don't know why I called him. I called him and hung up after 2 rings. A few seconds later, he replied with a message, saying that he was busy and didn't come, so I went to have dinner. Good boy, very spineless. As soon as I saw the last few words, my full of resentment disappeared without a trace. There must be ulterior motives for the blatant provocation against Hutianyu, and I suddenly seemed to have the courage to face it. My boyfriend didn't believe it. Who else could I believe? According to the routine in the novel, this Hutianyu is obviously a minor supporting role who comes to sow discord and increase the plot. I would be afraid that I would decisively choose to get in the car. Hu Tianyu smiled and said, "You are like this, you look like a soft girl, but you are actually quite brave." I responded. "You haven't finished, Hu Tianyu, it seems you still care." Purely out of curiosity. Hu Tianyu laughed again. "Want to know why they broke up?" My mind was distracted again at the critical moment. I suddenly remembered that Damon had a vague black tattoo on the inside of his little finger. I always thought it was D, but now I think it should be C. Damn, Cytherea's last name. Just hearing this, I can't help but start to be crazy jealous of this girl I have never met. Woo, her name is so nice. Unlike me, from the person to the name is simply mediocre to the extreme. If thrown into the crowd and lost, Damon would have to look for a long time with a flashlight. But I still shamelessly thought that I couldn't belittle myself. After all, the person standing next to Damon now is me. And he didn't mention his ex-girlfriend, so he must not want to mention it. It's his taboo. But it's a lie to say that I'm not curious. I coughed and pretended to be casual. "Why break up?" Hu Tianyu started the car, and when I thought he wouldn't answer, Hu Tianyu spoke. "Cytherea slept with a buddy of mine, spill the tea," and then I thought about it for a long time with my not-so-bright brain. "You lied, Damon is so outstanding, which woman is so desperate to give him a green hat?" Hu Tianyu smiled calmly. "I know you don't believe it, I know you don't believe it, but this is the fact." He added, "Slept." More than once, I suddenly felt sorry for Damon, and I wanted to fly back to him immediately, and then kiss and hug him, and lift him up high. Damon, who is so handsome and considerate, was actually cheated. It's unfair. When I felt that the amount of information that could be accepted in my brain was about to explode, Hu Tianyu forced another sentence into it, and it took me a long time to digest the sentence. "Then Zhu Yuanzhang went abroad with my buddy. He just returned to China last week. After he dumped my buddy for 2 minutes, I felt goosebumps all over my body." It turned out that the sentence was the key point. Hu Tianyu's car drove slowly, as if taking me to a very scary place. Although my brain is not very good, it is not stupid. "Stop the car, I don't want to hear the rest." I went to open the car door. Although I don't know a lot about Damon, it's all in the past, I don't mind. The car door was locked, and the speed of the car suddenly increased sharply.